Hello, this is Dr. Mike. This is from my CIS 2642. This is looking at vulnerability scanning, a demo of a few tools. So I say a few tools because, as you can imagine, there are many tools here. So I'm not going to cover Nessus yet. I might do Nessus later. Actually, I have it on my different system. So I have to switch that to record that. But it'll be better for a separate video anyways. But you're going to do a lab on vulnerability scan with OpenVAS, which is very similar anyway. So we're going to move back to that. So again, we are at vulnerability scanning. There's a lecture video posted where I get into the nitty gritty. What we'll do is let's take a look at our target. So for this engagement, my target is a local host in this case, running on 192.168 1.32. Metasploitable 2, which I have running on a virtual machine here. Of course, I'll use the DVWA as my site. So we'll say that the entire we'll say this is part of the web app pen test. This DVWA. So, but also the actual IP address is still in scope. So, and it's possible you might have that. You have a certain, they want you to look at the server, but really look at the web page. So in this case, we'll do that. So we have that established, and we looked at, of course, nmap. Very quick here, of course, because there's a lot of stuff open here. This is Metasploitable too, so it's a very juicy target. We have an idea what our operating system is, which of course is a VMware system. So maybe it's an operating system detection. Again, more early recon stuff here. This is probably done then. This could be done from remote, and actually not from your own IP address. But we do know we have a lot of ports open. And of course, our next thing to look at is the service version. Again, this is a little bit of a review from nmap itself. I have a nmap basics where I actually look at the -SV. So a lot of stuff with nmap. It is a huge tool. I'm always looking at examples. I have stuff written in my notes, bookmark pages, things like that. But this is the one I use a lot, is the nmap-SV. Again, we're still, you think this is recon. It is recon, but we are looking for vulnerabilities. We have a Metasploitable root shell open right now. Looks like that's great. Yeah, so example here, ProFTP 1.1.3. So I could already off the bat, of course this will be copied and pasted into my notes, all this output, all of it here. Version numbers, VSFTP 2.3.4. Okay, that's going to be good right there. So if this VSFTP 2.3.4 is a vulnerability, so I might just do is jump over to, let's take a look at simple Google, right? VSFTP, and I forgot the number, 2.3.4. Should I remember that? 2.3.4 vulnerability. So, and off the bat, yeah. Now of course, this is built in. This is built with a vulnerability, so no surprise here. This is a known vulnerability. It's actually a real one, but we can go here and get CV details. That's not a very good one. CV details. It's a 10 though. Here we go. So, yeah, pretty bad vulnerability. There we go. So a little clicking around, you can find that it is huge impact, complete impact, not very complex, no authentication required. So already I'm looking at, this is a great vulnerability to test. And so again, this link will go in my notes along with the vulnerability scan. Now I can manually do this, of course. I can go through each one of these and say, well, I have OpenSSH 47P1, I got ISCB BY 942. It could be a little tedious. And of course, you're not going to have this many ports open typically. But what you can do is, and I will clear up my screen here, is what I already plugged in is the vulner script. So -- script vulners. And now I actually have a page set up where I talk about, a link to a blog page, how to set this up. And it's also in the nmap site. So I didn't go through the setup. I've already got through the setup. And actually, it's not been updated. You should always keep them updated, almost like your plugins. I would update my vulner. I would update my CVE. There's a way to do that with nmap. I'm just going to run this straight up as it is. I'm using the CVSS 5.0. I'm pointing against that target. So In reality, this could take a little longer to run, but this is when we get our first vulnerability scan. Again, using nmap. So we saw nmap from basic scan, maybe an OS scan, which I didn't do here, but we saw we can do an OS scan. We can do a service version scan and start picking apart those things here. Look at this. We have all kinds of stuff here. So let's focus back on that FTP. All right, so we have a bunch of stuff here. Excuse me. So this gives me links. Now here's a very important aspect here. I run this personally, is you could get false positives from this. Now this is exploitable too. This is a very exploitable virtual machine, which is great to practice on, or great for demos, but very important that you just don't take these as face value. Look at the exploits. This says there's an exploit here for this, exploits here. And of course, again, if you board light stuff like this with lots of exploits, if you get a lot, if everything shows exploits, which you might have, and here's something I ran into, this might have been fixed, but I swear I ran this before and there's no version being passed, just VSFTP. I actually didn't find anything for that. That's not amazing. So there's a false negative. There's actually an exploit for that right there. So just if everything shows exploitable, verify that it's actually getting the actual version numbers. If in case it's not passing correctly or it's not looking up correctly, it might be showing you all exploits that it has downloaded. So, but again, this is a great way to scan and start. So again, this is exploitable too, so you usually never get that much back. So let's take a look at moving to the next level here. So this is more of the server based. We can pick these apart. We want to categorize possible vulnerabilities, capture these in your notes. Don't go off and start actually exploiting these yet. That's the exploit phase. But for now, I have this this web page I want to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch my Burp Professional. So I actually went ahead and I have a license for this. Usually from my class when I teach it, I also get a license, temporary license for like the few weeks of the class. And I suggest you grab this for your class project, which of course is your live exploit. This is the pro version of this is going to really step up your game on your entire project of looking for exploits, looking for vulnerabilities. So first off with Burp Suite here, it's going to use a temporary project. This is basically where it stores stuff about it. If I was going to do this for real, I would actually create a project on disk. You want to do this. I can't say this enough. You have Pro, maybe you have it from my class, maybe you have it through a company. You want to go ahead and get this thing to save on disk. Burp Suite is notoriously a memory hog, and it will crash over a long use of time. You want to be able to actually reopen an existing project and continue where you left off. You don't want to start over again. So, but for the example of this demo, I'm just going to do temporary project. I'm using the defaults. You can do configurations where you have certain things turned on or off. Again, look at the documentation for this. There's help linked all over the place here. I'm going to start Burp up. All right, so here's Burp. Again, so what Burp is, Burp acts as between the web browser and the website. We'll do the circle for the website. Burp is sort of in the middle. It's a proxy. Everything goes from the website and back and forth like that. So you have the opportunity to capture, export, test. You can interject changes into your outgoing traffic and try out certain things. There's attack stuff inside with the Pro version. You can set up password attacks, things like that. So it's more than just a scanner. It's an exploit platform in a lot of ways too. Now you can take an exploit you may find, and then you look at the demo video where I find exploit code in exploit DB. Maybe you plug that in. Maybe it's a change in the header, or maybe it's a change in a cookie. You can use this platform for that. So for now though, it starts off. It's running like this. Burp Suite can be a little bit hard to get a hold of, but then you don't forget to go to the Learn tab. It's very tab and very right-click focused. Look at this. You got tutorials, support center, how to get started. Definitely do look over what you need to get going. A lot of times it's learn as you go. I'll say this. This is your dashboard. This is where you're going to see live passive crawling, again, of anything that's being run. You can kick off scans, any issues you might be found, any advisories for those, and of course any event log. And again, right now we started service on port 8080 on 127001. So I think in the previous demo where we did passive scanning or more recon, I showed you how to set this up manually for Burp Community Edition. We need to use your own browser. For Burp Pro though, we go to our proxy, and we have our own built-in web browser, which is already been linked with Burp. It's fantastic. It already has all the plugins. It has the certificate, which is important when it comes to HTTPS. It's all been set up. The reason why I say certificate is if I'm going to a HTTPS site, the web browser will see it's come through a proxy, and there will be no certificate, and you'll have either certificate warnings, you will have no images. So if you set up your own browser, it's in the Burp documentation how to set up both the proxy port and then actually download and then basically install that certificate into like Firefox. But if you use the built-in browser, it has it all taken care of. So fantastic way to get around that. So you open Burp, and again, intercept is on by default. So let's go ahead and look at our target. I'm going to grab, wait till the browser's open here. I'm going to go and grab this. Copy that. So so I have Firefox running over here. I keep a fresh web browser with my target separate than the one I want to use for my Burp Suite on, which is this one right here. All right. So boom, off the bat, Burp Pro came up and says, "Hey, I intercepted this log, this incoming request." This is a request going out. So this is the outbound request. So I'm gonna say, you can say forward. You see it comes in to that right there. Now, best thing is just turn this off. It is intercepting traffic, but it's gonna you don't want to sit there and click next, next, next for every single request and response. It gets way too tedious. You don't need that if you're doing some very step-by-step testing. So for now though, just turn intercept off. And you should go to HP history. I always sort by number. I sort reverse order. So the newest stuff's on top. You can see you grab the fave icon. You got a 404 for that, so can't find the fave icon. You can see the page. It's fine there. Here's our login page. So let's go and type in. It says admin password. Admin. Now, of course, this is an HTTP page, so off the bat we will see stuff come up here. So you can see each one. Here's our request that went out. You can see it sent admin and password in the request body itself to login.php. We got a 302, it was found, and we got our page sent back to us. And so password leak check. Okay, that's great. So let's look at our next tab here is target. All right, so here we can see is our DVWA. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and right click on this and add to scope. So now all this out of this like password leak checker from Google APIs and stuff, we don't want this stuff going out. We don't care about that. It's noise. And then right here's a filter. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say only show in scope items, apply, and now we've limited the amount of noise we're going to get. Now, of course, I mentioned before, this is HTTP, so off the bat you can see here's an advisory. It's high and certain. It's saying, hey, everything's coming across. I found the password field in clear text. So this should be a no duh, right? This should probably be found in recon, but you never know. It could be that, and I've actually experienced, it's not in a pen test engagement, but it'll say in a work engagement or just at work, secure website, college website I'm on, bounces me to a login page for some kind of teaching resources, and it's HTTP. wants me to pass in my same credentials I use for logging into the college to another internal website, web server that is insecure. So, as a responsible, you know, faculty or staff or employee, I informed IT that, hey, this is insecure, and they actually fixed it. They actually created a secure HTTPS for it. So just want to assume that, yeah, of course this is all going to be secure. You never know what goes on. There's a lot of back and forth here. So in any case, first off, we talked about before, we can passively scan this host, actively scan it. We're going to look at those two actually here. Now, of course, we have all kinds of stuff. We can search, find comments, find scripts. There's a lot of stuff here. And this is a lot of it, both, again, in recon and both vulnerability scanning. Discover content, analyze target. Great stuff here. So look at engagement tools. But we can scan the host. We just want to do a crawl and audit or just a crawl. So right clicking is going to be a key here in Burp. In this case, a crawl and audit is fine. I want to say how I want to scan, down to a lightweight scan, fast, deep, and so on. This is great. I mentioned before in my lecture video, you might need to tune your scan for certain things. Do I have any logins? Yeah, so I have, we'll say this is the main one. It's admin and password. And maybe I have some other ones, some test credentials. 10 connections. If you want, you can throttle it down to less. You can create a new resource pool. You can make less requests per attempt and so on. So you can tune your scan to be less aggressive. Of course, if I'm a short amount of time, I'll just do this. We'll kick it off. Here we see we're going to scan the entire site here. Let's actually change this scan to the DVWA. Let's limit that a little bit. Scan using HTTP, HTTPS, detail scope configuration. Damn vulnerable web app. All right, let's kick it off. Oh, configuration. Let's do lightweight. Let's do lightweight. And you can always go back and rescan. All right, now the scan's kicked off. You go back to your dashboard. You can see it's crawling on it. You should get an idea of requests, errors found. The crawl started. Here's our event log. A little bit here. You can view details. You can actually watch. You can see the actual live crawl. You can see what it's doing. Any odd items, issue activities, event loggers. What you want to look for here is you want to see if there's any errors. If the errors start piling up, it's possible that if you're in like a red team engagement, that it's going to be disconnected. Maybe you got disconnected. Maybe you got stomped on because you were too aggressive. So usually there's never permanent. You never actually permanently. DevSecOps usually don't permanently ban IPs. So what you do is you disconnect, come back a little later, give it an hour or so, or try again later the next day, and maybe try it less aggressive of a scan. So I'm just going to pause this here. You see the pause button. I can go back, I can reconfigure, and so on, and things like that. So you can run scans like that. Now again, one of the biggest ones, of course, is I can also browse the site. So I can see this log has got a red on it. So whenever I find stuff, it will add in the most severe, in this case, unencrypted communication, login PHP, it says clear text, and so on. So you can see the request, you can see the response, and so on. It's very fantastic. Again, this is the kind of stuff you can highlight and put in notes, and I'll show you. We'll do a report output here. So that's one way to do it. You can do a scan. You can scan certain pages down. If you want to limit your scanning, though, of course, you can just go ahead and click on stuff. So maybe I'll go ahead and say, hello, love Burp. Burp is pretty cool. That's a great name. Time the guest book, put that inside there. And we can see, if you look at our proxy, we can see everything. There's our post. And there's and that and so on. So you can see session IDs. They're fantastic. Look at those things. You're going to be possibly could be hacked. And you can see the page. You can look at it and render it. It does a really loose job of rendering. It will do its best to render it. Burp will, I say it. Easy running at hex. Pretty is pretty nice. You can look at the raw or pretty. Those are both a great output. So again, you can try doing rendering. It might take a little bit of overhead for that. So you think, okay, well, this is supposed to be a bad page. Why isn't it saying anything? We go back to our, so look at the page URL, vulnerabilities, XSS stored, XSS stored. All it says is frameable potential clickjacking. Okay. But anything that has inputs, like this has inputs on it. It could be a search, is another one. I go, So instead of scanning the entire site with everything in the world, I want to come back here. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want to go ahead and do a passive scan this part of the branch. Go to my dashboard, you can see it turn a little different color there. Of course, didn't find anything. A passive scan is basically a passive scan is almost like it's looking at it like this, almost like the client. In fact, it sort of passively scanned it as we used it. So let's step up a little bit. Let's do an active scan. Now we can see this thing's actually, look at that. So now it's sending a lot of requests and it's finding stuff. So we're going to go to the issue activity here. I'm going to sort by severity. There we go. And look at that, cross-site script reflected. Web cache poisoning. So these are fantastic. So there's a request, and you can see it actually sent in an alert, and the response it probably got. If I click on the highlight here, it got alert. Pop-up looks like. Yeah, so it came across in the URL. So look down here for this, where it says highlight at, because otherwise you're going to scroll. If you're like, where's it at? Where in the response is it bad? Click on one highlight, and it'll jump to it, and you can see what it looks like. Actually shows it. This is it. It's an alert dialog. So I mentioned before about hey, I want to test this out. Don't start throwing in your own attack code here, because you might get false positives. Burp will see the attack code and assume that it is possible, even though maybe the page is not. It didn't work on the page. That's why you want to have your own web browser up and running separately. So I go here, admin, password, I don't save. So maybe I want to go here and I want to test it out myself, or look at try reflective. We can try script alert. I'm not doing this right, am I? Boom. And let's see if this works. Slash. Probably won't work. That's okay though, let's see. Alright, so boom, so I might not get it right, but you can see it posted here, what's your name. If it was an issue, I don't want to do this type of work in the browser I have hooked to Burp, that's all. So it's good to have two browsers running, one under Burp and one not. So we can see this thing is it's almost done actually. So we can see the issue activity, we can see audit items, it's doing it. Any events here and so on, audit started. This is good. This date time right here. Keep note of that. This is fantastic. So maybe I'll put in my notes, hey, I started an audit on this branch, this URL at 14/41, 18 January 2023. And that way if the client goes, hey, we see some weird stuff going on, is it you? I say, well, here's one, the exact date and time from this IP address, this date and time I ran an active scan against this actual web page. So you can see how it's important to have this information. So I'm going to close this here. I'm going to go ahead and stop that scan. We'll just hit pause. So to keep this quick here, move on. So there's a lot of stuff we'll look at. We'll come back and we'll demo more tools, definitely demo more Burp. It's got a lot of stuff here, collaborator, sequencer, decoders, and so on. But let's say for now, I want to take what I have here, and I want to create a report. So let's say I want these right here, reflected. For frameable response. Again, some of these you can see are certain or firm, medium, certain. And let me give you an example. This is a big deal. Maybe this is a huge deal for me. WebCat portion right here. Maybe I want to actually change this. I want to actually set severity to high. I'm going to actually set severity to false positive. So I'm going to set this to lower. I'm going to set severity, we'll make that low. So again, I'm making things like along here. Maybe these are the ones I want. This is the most, this page right here, or this specific thing is the one I want. And you can see the URL. So let's take these right there. I did shift click, right click, and I want to report selected items. So this is important. If we report everything, you're going to have a huge report. So I would suggest doing an HTML report. Again, you can make XML if it needs to be imported into a different system. Most time this will work. I take all the details, include relevant extracts. I'm just taking the defaults that go here, and you can play around with this as you like. I want those right there. I'm going to go ahead and create a file. Let's put this in and downloads, file name. We'll call this demo.html. Burp scan report. We'll call this demo. So again, you can change your report title here, and that's basically it. Embed everything. This is fantastic. Next, done, close. Let's check it out, and there is my HTML report. So I can open this in any web browser. I can send this as a single file. So you can see it shows a request. It shows remediation details. It's got like a response information. Again, being up above here, we can see it gives a nice little table. It's fantastic. So you have this stuff right here is, man, if you have like a screen capture, like screen pics, just cut and paste these things out. These go look fantastic in a report. I might attach this to a report for more details, but I can put the actual URL. I can cut and paste some of this out of here. Maybe add my own wording to it. We're no longer in academics, so copy and paste. Look at this. Vulnerability classifications, best practices, cross-site scripting. Your client might not know what that is. So you can see we're already, this report is going to be a great part of my notes. I'm going to take it, I'm going to throw it into my notes. It could be a folder, it could be a OneNote, something you're using to keep your notes along with your text notes. So all my output from nmap, copy and paste that terminal output into maybe a basic text file. Output like this kind of stuff I want to have from my actual test here. So anyways, you can see it's a real quick look at Burp. And this is a little more of a vulnerability scan. And we can look again. We can, if you want to, I'll show one last thing here. Maybe this cross-site should be reflected. I want to look at the page that has that. You can see the actual what was sent back and forth, signed guest book, and so on. You can open in or send to. We can send this to other things. Here. First, we can copy URLs. So right-clicking is a big thing here. Engagement tools, search, find comments, Sky, so on. There you go. So right-click on the actual was sent. So here's the actual thing that was sent. This was a post. If I want to mess around with this and not use the front end of my web app, I can send to a repeater. And repeater sort of blinks here for a second, so we went there. And now I can go in here and I can change stuff. So text name, message, sign guest book. I can modify stuff here if I want to modify session IDs, and I can send it. Let's see what happens. This is probably just a really, really poor test here, but you can see where we can mess around with stuff. Cookie high. What if I make that low? I set it in. So we can see request headers, which are cookies. So you can use this to repeat stuff. I'm not going to go into our intruder yet. Collaborator, sequencer is pretty good, decoder, and so on. So repeaters when you might use the most. Intruder you might use. Actually, don't show this again. you can send intruders. We're going to try to do actual password attacks. So this could be a place where a page you found, maybe something you want to look at. So let's look at maybe a login page. Maybe the login page, login.php. Let's go our target. Ooh, robots.txt, nothing on there. UWA, login.php. So this could be a page here. Let's open that up. There we go. Right click, send to intruder. And now I can actually go ahead and clear this, and I can, let's go and add that to my scope, add the password. Maybe I know it's admin. Let's clear everything, clear it out. We know it's admin, but we don't know what the password is. And so I'm going to add that in. And now I can actually set up my attack. We'll do a sniper attack. Payload, we can do a simple list. We can load a list of known passwords. And voila, and we can kick off and actually do an attack. So see if it's vulnerable. But in any case, that's a little bit, go extend a little further beyond what we want to look at here. So anyways, when I'm done, again, close the Chromium browser that came with it. And I exit Burp. Now again, since I didn't save this to a session file, when I reopen it, it's going to be all new again. But there are ways you might be able to take the project and save a copy. So if you forgot to do that, look at saving a copy of this right here. And I won't do it myself here. I'll say, yeah, like the wizard. But yeah, in case you forgot, but it's important to at the beginning set that file. Anyways, that's Burp Pro. I'm done here. I'll say quick Burp Pro. Yes, quit. Now we'll free everything up. I'm going to close that out there. And that starts to end our initial look at some vulnerability scanning. This is really focused on Burp and a little bit of nmap. And so this will help you get your leg up on some vulnerability scanning. There's way more tools, Zap, Nessus. I won't demo those here today. We're way at 32 minutes, so we'll cut it out here. Thanks a lot.